Alright guys, the last part of speech that we have not covered yet are prepositions. These are generally the most difficult, but I'm thinking if you pay attention here while we take some notes and do the practice, that prepositions really should not be that hard. So the first thing you should be asking is, what is a preposition? Well, and you're going to want to write this down, a preposition relates the noun or pronoun that it follows, which is also called the object, to another word in the sentence. Write that down. It relates a noun or pronoun that it follows to another word in a sentence. And it relates these in one of three ways, either by telling you the place, the position, or the time. And on the next slide, I'm going to give you some samples of what some common prepositions are. So if you need to, pause it and write this down. Alright, so here are some common, prepositions. And we have some that show place and position. We have different ones to show time. So I'll kind of let these go. I would write these down. Above, across, and I'm not going to read them all to you, but I'll give you some examples while you record them. The ball was behind the fence. Behind is a preposition telling you the position of the ball compared to the fence. I looked under the bed. Okay, so these are prepositions that show positions. Preposition tells about a thing in its position. And then there are some that show time. I have been here since 3 p.m. and it relates the place to the time. So in the next few slides you'll kind of see how these work, but make sure you have these written down, and these are just the most common ones. They're not necessarily all of them. So prepositions, in order for them to really make sense, they have to have objects. You wouldn't just say, like if we go back to the previous slide, I am below. Okay, below what? Below the surface, below the average, what? If you don't have the object, you don't know what's being referred to. So the object of the preposition is the noun or the pronoun. It's always a noun or a pronoun that comes after the preposition. So here's an example. Here's a sentence. An eagle soars above the trees. Okay? The preposition, the word that is the preposition, is above. What is it above? The trees. So trees is the object of the preposition. It's a noun. And this all relates back to the verb soars, and we're talking about an eagle. So this whole thing that's underlined here would be the prepositional phrase. A prepositional phrase, and I believe it's on the next slide, starts with the preposition and ends with the next noun. So the object of the preposition is the noun that follows it. So when we talk about prepositions, we need to discuss prepositional phrases. And like I just said, it's the preposition and then everything between that preposition and the noun. So adjectives can be in there also. So prepositional phrase is made up of the preposition, the object of the preposition, which is that noun or pronoun, and everything that comes in between. And these can come at the beginning of a sentence, they can come in the middle or the end. Generally they don't come at the beginning, they're usually at the end of a sentence, but they can come anywhere. So here's a prepositional phrase at the beginning of a sentence. In the early morning. In is one of those position prepositions. In the early morning is the prepositional phrase because it starts with the preposition, ends with the next noun. Here's one that comes in the middle. The heat of the noonday sun drives some creatures underground. Of the noonday sun. The deer find shade in a narrow canyon. In is a preposition all the way to canyon, which is the next noun. Okay, so if I ask you to find a prepositional phrase, you just start with the preposition, you can use that list, and then you end with wherever the next noun would be, or pronoun. Alright, so here's some practice, and then obviously I'll go over the answers at the end. You're going to underline the preposition, then you're going to circle the object of the preposition. And it says read the prepositional phrase, you don't need to do that. So you're going to underline the preposition and circle the object of the preposition. So actually, let's do the first one together. The frog leaps into the pond. So I'm going to find the preposition that it shows position Okay, and it would be into, so I'm going to underline into. And then what is the next noun after into? Pond. So it's the object, so I'm going to circle the pond. I'm sorry, I'm just going to circle pond. So this whole thing right here, if I asked you to, this whole thing is the prepositional phrase. So this is what you would read, into the pond. So why don't you do the other three on your own? So write these down. Yeah, you need to write the whole sentence. Pause the video, underline the preposition, circle the object, and you might even want to box the whole phrase in just so you can see it. Alright, so if you're ready, here are the answers. So remember, underline the preposition, circle the object, and I did box all of the prepositional phrases. So the second one, toward, would be the preposition, so I underlined toward. The next noun is the rodent, so I circled that. This whole thing is the prepositional phrase, toward a fat rodent. The monkey hangs from the branch. From is underlined, branch is the next noun, so that's circled. Box the whole thing, that's the prepositional phrase. The eagle snags the rodent with its claws. Now with was not on your list of prepositions, but it is a preposition because it's relating things. So with, claws, and then that's boxed. Alright, so last word of advice, and then you need to get started on the practice assignment. Take your time doing this. Pay attention. Take your time and focus. This is your practice. If you can do this, you should be able to do fine on the quiz. I will post the answer key. You need to look at that when you're done. And if you get things wrong, you need to see why you're getting them wrong. Okay, if you don't, I promise the quiz that we're going to take over these on May 2nd is going to be ugly. I don't want that to be the case. Okay, so remember, prepositions. You find the word that shows the relationship in the sentence, and you have that list. Okay, and that's the preposition. Everything else is part of the prepositional phrase. Okay, those that can have nouns in them, they can have adjectives in them. Okay, but the preposition, and you can look on that list. But just think about words that you use every day to show a relationship. Okay, and I'll even give you a couple examples before you can turn this off. So let's take these three sentences. Okay, and I will tell you exactly where the preposition is and what the prepositional phrase is. I found my cell phone in my pocket. Okay, if you can ask yourself, where did you find your cell phone? In my pocket. So in is the preposition, pocket is the object of it. This whole thing is the prepositional phrase. Okay, I ate dinner at my friend's house. Where did you eat dinner? At my friend's house. This whole thing that I'm boxing is the prepositional phrase. Okay, so you can usually answer a question with a prepositional phrase. Hey, who hacked your Facebook account? My Facebook account was locked by my mother. Hopefully that doesn't happen to you. Okay, and then that whole thing is the prepositional phrase. Look back at this video as often as you need to. Use the examples on the top of your practice assignment. And most importantly, if you need to, ask questions. Alright? Good luck, and if you need any help, just raise your hand.